watching or listening to Power Podcasters with Scott Paton, the Dean of Blogonomics and Pedology. And my guest today is an automated marketing architect. He's co-founder of Your Marketing University, which is a site dedicated to giving small businesses the tools they need to market their businesses both online and offline. And being a predominantly online marketer myself, I think I tend to miss out on the offline aspect of marketing, and I think a lot of businesses do. They think, oh, we're going to get on the internet, we're going to have 1 billion people come to our site, and then they forget some of the simple offline things that they could be doing to grow their business. And the thing is he shows you how to do it without spending a fortune on marketing agencies. His passion is helping small businesses and teaching them about marketing in their business, because this always changes. Every week there's a new thing. So how do you sift through all of this information that comes at you? Well, get a hold of today's guest, and he'll help you do that. And I met him because he's an instructor at udemy.com, and I've taken his course, which is absolutely an amazing course on networking. So I asked him to come on board and share a little bit about networking. So we're going to be talking about networking today, and I want to welcome to the show Ely, sorry, I did so good, Ely Delaney. How are you doing, Ely?
I'm doing awesome, Scott. It's so funny because, you know, I do a lot of these interviews and I get people who mess up my name left and right, and it's always entertaining, but it's so funny when you did such a great job on this whole big fancy bio. You did it's just amazing how well it sounded, and I'm sitting there going, wow, I sound like a really important, cool person, except for it was the wrong guy, a different name there. Hey, it happens. No worries, though. It was lots of fun. So, Scott, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. This is fun stuff, and I really appreciate the fact that you did go through my course and you got good value out of it, because that's why I do it. It's the most important thing in the world for me as a trainer. That's really my thing, is the teaching and the training. I want to teach entrepreneurs how to market themselves more effectively without getting scared, spending a lot of money, any of that kind of crazy stuff. And knowing that you went through the program, you got the value, you're ready to rock and roll with it. Hopefully you've already implemented some of the stuff. That means the world to me. That's why I get up in the morning.
Cool. All right. So a lot of what I talk about is podcasting. So we're going to kind of skew everything towards, how to network for your podcast and the different things that you can do. But I want everybody to know that pretty much everything we talk about you could apply to your networking for your business, networking for your blog, networking for LinkedIn, or any of the other areas. But we're going to be focusing on the podcasting aspect of it. And you're a podcaster yourself, right, Ely?
Yeah, my podcast is called Driving Your Marketing, and basically I do interviews with cool entrepreneurs that I meet throughout the world. As a matter of fact, I've been meaning to ask you. You and I need to get together so I'm going to have you on my show. Just because
Great.
It's going to be fun, yeah. And I haven't talked a whole lot about podcasting for a while, so as a marketing tool. So I think we should. That'll be some fun. But that's one of the things that I do, is I network with other people in order to connect, figure out how can we help each other, how can we build these relationships and build each other up. And it's kind of great because you're a podcaster, I'm a podcaster. I don't believe in competition. I believe that the only competition you have is with yourself. How can you grow yourself and expand your abilities to be the best that you can? So you do something, I do something. We both do similar stuff, but we each have our own unique abilities behind it. And so I turn that, so there's no such thing as competition. I believe in collaboration. And so, like just what we've done, in the time you and I have met each other, which we've never been in the same room, by the way. We've been networking, but we haven't actually been in the same room yet. We've networked online. We've networked through these Google Hangouts and things like that. And so that ability to connect with somebody and say, okay, you've got this cool thing, I've got this cool thing, how can we mesh it together and help cross-promote each other and add more value to our customers? That's what this is all about, and that's what makes it so much fun, is because you get rid of that whole competition mindset. It doesn't mean you get complacent. You always got to be on the top of your game, but it's shifting the idea of I'm not here to beat you. I'm here to be the best I can possibly be of what I have to offer and figure out how can we work together in that process.
You know, that's a really good point about competition, because I was at a website of another podcaster who actually teaches podcasting like I do, and I'm reading through his stuff and everything else, and I'm thinking, oh man, it'd be great to have him as a guest. And then I went, whoa, but what if people get him to teach them podcasting instead of me, right?
Yeah.
And so I had this sort of struggle, and then I'm thinking, and then I looked at the price of his course versus the price of my course, and his is 10 times more expensive, and I thought, and so then I thought, well, I could probably learn a lot more from him because he's charging 10 times more than me than he will from me. So it would actually probably be better for me to approach him and do an interview with him and everything else, because I would probably learn a lot. And then you know, but it was funny how that monkey mind just went, and I thought, like, you know, that's
well,
insane.
and we do that. And one of the things, like, I've trained myself to get over that mindset and go, okay, so how can we help each other? Because guess what? There are certain people that are going to be attracted to his message and how he puts his materials together. Some people are going to be attracted to yours. Some are going to be attracted to both. So chances are he probably has an affiliate program. So sign up for his affiliate program and say, hey, if you've been through my course, I've been through his course. It's really cool also. And there's some stuff that I don't cover. So you might want to check it out as well. You know, It's always good to take a second opinion. It's always a good way to look at a different way. I mean, you know, one thing, as anybody who's an educator and a teacher, we always have this thing, and if you're in the coaching, training world in any way, shape, or form, you've probably ran into this where you tell somebody, especially your client, the same thing 100 times, and they go, yeah, and then they ignore you, and then they turn around, they see somebody else go, I saw this great video, this guy said this and this and this, and you're like, yeah, I've been telling you that for 3 years.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You play off of that.
Well, the other thing that I thought of too was, I don't know if it's like, if in Portland you have this, but here we have what we call like car row. Like, it's a street and it's just full on both sides of car salesmen, really. You know, Toyota's there, Ford's, they're all in one place, right? And like in one square mile, you can see every car in the world. And I thought, well, why do they do that? Well, because it brings all the buyers to one place, and we've all got you know, together we've got a way better chance of selling than if we were all spread all over the place. And of course, it occurs to me that's exactly the same thing with anyone that you feel is your competitor. When you bring everybody all together, someone's going to get some business, and you're all probably going to get more business than you would have got if you hadn't.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing about it, is just change your mindset and figure out. Don't say, okay, how can I make sure that this person doesn't get my customer? Figure out, how can we work together? So I have 100 people here, and he has 100 people there. How can we work together and make that 200 people?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you're not the first networking course I've ever taken either. Like, well, oftentimes we take it more than one course. If you're interested in a topic, you're desperately looking for information on it. So, Eli, I want to ask you this question because I want everybody kind of coming from the same foundation, and that is, because we all have different interpretations of networking. So what is networking for you?
Okay. Networking is connecting with other people. That's really what it boils down to. I'm a big advocate for, it's like my latest favorite quote, which I made up, which was, the people you meet, the connections you have, are the people that are going to get you where you want to go. You cannot run a business by yourself. You cannot succeed in life by yourself. You have to have other people. Some of those people could be partners. Some of them could be employees. Some of them could be vendors. Some of them could be customers. It's a cross of all this stuff together. But that's what networking is you're connecting with other people. And so if you look at it like that, it's the people that you meet, whether you're doing it locally, face-to-face, which we're in the online world right now. Everybody's doing all the online stuff. They're forgetting about the people that are in their own neighborhood. And there's so much right there sitting in your backyard that's literally 10 feet away. The combination of all of this together is just going out, meeting people, and saying, okay, how can I help this person? Right. And that's what networking is.
Okay, cool. So would you say networking is all one-on-one?
Not necessarily. You start that way if at all possible, but obviously the more people you connect with, the harder that is. But networking can also be in group sessions, and those group sessions can be online or offline. I do a lot of, like, just going to local mixers. You can go to chamber meetings, things like that, if you're in the local market at all. Chamber meetings, leads groups, things like that. And you go into a group of people, anywhere from 5 to 50, and just meet people and connect with them and say, okay, this is what this person does. What do you need? How can I help you? Connect with the next person and do that situation. But online does the same thing. What we do, you and I met through a Udemy Hangout. And
Yeah.
we were, 6 people, which is, I thought that was the coolest thing when I stopped in the very first one that I did, which hasn't been that long now. It's like not even a month. The very first one that I did, we had 6 people on the call, and none of us were in the same country. I was the only one in the U.S. I mean, you're the closest to me, being up in Vancouver.
That's right.
But it's like, I'm sitting there looking at this going, okay, this is the coolest thing in the world. I'm having a live conversation with 6 people all over the world. We're bouncing ideas off each other and sharing tips, tricks, resources, all that kind of stuff, helping each other out, building this mastermind idea. And we've never been in the same room before.
Right.
I mean.
So let's go back to the offline thing, because I think I was just thinking about it. Like in my area, I could probably go to the local, the Chamber of Commerce for all the little suburbs around me, and there would be nobody doing any of the things that I'm doing. So this means that it's a brand. I mean, I was going to say brand new market. That's not true. It's a wide open space with probably with definitely more business than I could handle. So I would be forced to expand. Gee, how horrible is that?
Yeah.
But when you were talking about going to the chamber, it reminded me of times that I have been in those places. And one, I thought everyone was trying to sell me insurance or a house. And two, when they got up to introduce themselves, I felt what the person said just really made me want to go as far away from them as possible, which is the opposite of what we want. So you want to get up and you want to say something, and you want to have people like, wow, I want to go know that person, right? So attracting rather than running around. And so how do you do that?
Well, and the funny thing is that experience you're talking about is why so many people run, and they don't like networking. I mean, I have people that literally, when you say, hey, we should go to this event, it'd be a great networking opportunity, and I can literally see tears start coming out of their eyes because they're cringing so bad, and they're like, no, I don't want to go there, because they're used to so many people going into the hunter mentality. And this is this concept has been around for a long time in the marketing world, but hunter versus farmer. Hunters are immediately going out for the kill. Okay? You do not want to be a hunter, because a hunter comes in, they kill, but they have to go out and they have to hunt for their prey every single day. That's way too much work. Okay.
And not only that, I am on the defensive. I got my shields up.
Exactly.
I don't want to have anything to do with it. Go away, right?
Right. The farmer, on the other hand, exactly. The farmer, on the other hand, is planting the seeds. They're growing the crops that are going to last them for the rest of the year, sometimes for several years. And your networking is the same thing. You go in as a place of adding value. Very rarely, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been in this industry of networking and connecting with people. I started this with my web and graphic design company, which I started, I'm thinking, I got to look at the numbers, but I think we're right around 19 years ago, somewhere right around there. That's when I started my first business. It was a web and graphic design company, and I grew it through networking. Okay, because of that, I walked in the door and I said, this is what I do, but here's some tips, here's some resources, things that are going to help you out. And I didn't come in from, hey, by the way, I have this special deal and you should buy it today and blah, 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 because instantly people are going to be defensive on it. But you say, hey, you know what? If you're getting ready to start a website, here's a couple of tips you want to make sure that you do, whether you're building it yourself or you're hiring somebody else. Here's what you need to pay attention to. And then people are like, oh, that is awesome. That's a great tip. And then they come and they ask me questions. And so what I'm doing is I'm building the relationship where I'm pulling them in by saying, this is how I can help you. Here's some value up front. Come and see me when you're ready. It's a very soft sell. And that's one of the things that grabs people's attentions, because they're like, wow, I got value from this. This guy knows what he's talking about, and he's not hard. I don't feel scared to talk to him. I mean, I've had people who, especially coming from that world, I had one girl call me up one time, and she was like, I'm going to do business with somebody other than the person I'm working with right now. I would like it to be you, but that person, every time I talk to him, he makes me feel stupid. And so I'm going someplace else. I would like it to be you. Now, I knew this person, and we had a relationship where we agreed not to take each other's business. But I knew what this girl was coming from, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to him. And I talked to him and said, this is what's happening. She's going with somebody anyway, so I'm going to take her on as a client, as a courtesy to you. I'm explaining the situation, and hopefully you can fix that for the next client. You don't treat somebody else the way she feels. I used it as a way to hopefully educate him. Unfortunately, it didn't work all that well. But I came at it as, this is what it is. And when somebody says, well, this is a stupid question. No, this isn't a stupid question. You at this point are uneducated. Let me help educate you. That's my job. And that's it.
I think our job as providers of services and products is to make our customers and clients feel good. So
yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, is you walk in the door from that standpoint, the world totally changes. Because if you walk in the door thinking, okay, how many customers am I going to get? That's that hunter mentality. You got your sniper's rifle ready to go, and that's not the thought process. It's not the way to make it work.
Okay, so I'm at the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat introverted and shy. I happen to know you are also, and I actually am. And I'm a little nervous getting up, because I know they're going to go around the room and introduce everybody, or we're going to self-introduce ourselves. What do I say?
Okay, and that's essentially what we're talking about, is your 30-second commercial or your elevator pitch. There's a few different names for it, but those are probably the most common terms for it. And essentially what you need to do is you need to very succinctly say who you are, what you do, who you help, and what results they get. Answer those 4 questions.
Okay.
And if you can do that, and what my recommendation, there's actually an exercise in the course that I talk about this, where you go through, you answer each 4 of those questions, and then you combine them into 2 or 3 sentences. And when you do that, it makes it really easy, because what happens is when you give your 30-second commercial, people hear who your name is. They know who you are, your company name even, you can say that. I like to say, hey, my name's Ely Delaney. I'm the co-founder of Your Marketing University, because that says my name, it says my title, and my company, which Your Marketing University says it all. It really does. So that I kind of did that. I named it that way on purpose. But then I'm like, I help small business entrepreneurs. So I said who I'm helping, what I do for them, is, I help them with their marketing and teach them how to market themselves more effectively online and offline without a big expensive marketing agency.
Perfect.
And those are the results.
So you're at a conference for dentists, and you get introduced, or you're talking to someone and they ask you, and you give your 30-second commercial or your elevator speech. You could say everything you said, except instead of entrepreneurs, you could say, I help dentists understand how to market their practices.
Right. Yeah, so and you really should. Yeah, you should change it. Cater it up to whoever's in the room, and that's one thing. I have several different 30-second commercials based on who's going to be in the room. As an example, I do a lot of stuff with software called Infusionsoft. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's basically your email management, your CRM system, your shopping cart. Stick them together, stick them on steroids. And I've used the system since 2007, so I'm one of the longest-standing customers of theirs for ages, and we've helped other people. We help other people set their Infusionsoft up, because it's kind of confusing. And so,
see, I didn't know that, and I have a client who is incredibly frustrated with Infusionsoft for one major reason, which is he doesn't have the time to. He doesn't have. You've been in it 7 years, so that's 8 years. He doesn't have 8 years to get to where you are.
Right. Yeah.
So after
Well,
we're done,
let's.
because I didn't know that, you and I are gonna have
Okay.
another chat because he's just like pulling his hair out, right?
We can definitely help you out with that. And that's the funny thing is that, and that's where you have that catering situation where you got to have the right place for the right message. But because this group of who we've talked to and the conversations you and I've had, there's not necessarily many people that are going to be ready for Infusionsoft because it's not cheap. And
Right.
so, that
Yeah,
conversation's
you
never
need a
come up
really
before.
good established business, and
Yeah.
I've been to Infusionsoft's conference. So just to go on just a little bit of a tangent, like I've been to the conference, I can see what it does, and
Yeah.
so did my client who took me, and it was like, wow, this is really good. And then it
hmm
sounds really easy when you're in this room with some guy who's been doing it forever, and then when you get home, it's just like, what do you do, right? So you kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. So he really needs help, and he's been looking for
Okay.
somebody. So this is
We'll
great.
be
So
happy
here's
to
an
help you out with
example
that.
of networking because you didn't sell that at all. You just said one of the things we do is this, and we've been doing
Yeah.
it for 8 years since 2007. So if you watch this 10 years from now, that's 18 years. And it's just like, I need that. And
Yeah.
I've already established a relationship with you that I trust you, and I think that you know what you're talking about and doing. So it's a no-brainer sale for well, I don't know for you or for me. For one of us it is, and the other it's a huge relief, and that's of
Right.
course what you want to do when you sell. You
Yeah.
remind me when you talk about the hunters and the snipers. I like Sales Dogs by Blair Singer because I
I
thought
know.
that,
I know Blair. I met him several years ago.
yeah, great guy,
hmm
and I saw him speak on stage. And I always thought in order to be a sales to do any sales, you had to be a bulldog. You had to just grab them,
hmm
and I'm not. And he talks about a poodle, and he talks about a chihuahua, and he talks about the big dog, and he talks about the bulldog, and then he talked about the golden retriever. And I go, that's me. I'm a golden
Yeah.
retriever. And that's how I get all my business. Because
hmm
Joe talks to Sam, and Sam says to Joe, I have a problem. And Joe says, or the other way around, however it works, and one of them says, you got to talk to Scott. And then they phone me up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's the cool thing about it is if you put out there, add the value, and like as a podcaster, you're adding value, you're sharing that information, and you're saying, hey, by the way, I have this podcast, come listen to it, it's free. I actually have conversations with people where my entire pitch is to go listen to my free podcast. Now, I mean, how easy is it to sell somebody on something that's free? That's easy.
the
So,
podcasting creates the relationship because you listen, wow,
yeah.
there's really good information. You hear the tone, you hear the voice, it's going directly into the ear. Like think of it as whispering in someone's ear, particularly if you're
hmm
wanting to, it's a girl and you want to date it if you're a guy, and it's a guy if it's a girl, or whatever. Anyway, we
We
won't get into
understand.
that. We understand. So
But
what is it?
yeah.
So the other question I want to get to, because we really only have about 20 minutes left,
Okay.
is what's the potential of networking? I want to talk a little bit about networking for podcasting and that sort of stuff, and you brought it up, which I
hmm
appreciate. But I really want to talk about, because I'm always, what I think people are going in their head is like, okay, I go to the Chamber of Commerce and I waste an hour, I have a fattening lunch, and
hmm
nothing happens. So what's the
Right.
potential of networking? Like, what's your experience with your networking in terms of your business?
Okay. Yeah, and that's the thing is that one of the biggest things when people have that fear of networking or the distaste for it is because they're doing the, what we like to call the rubber chicken sessions, which is the going to the same place, sitting at the same table, talking to the same person about the same topic, eating the same rubber chicken week after week after week, and not getting results. That's how I would say 90 to 95% of the people out there do their networking. And obviously it doesn't work. That's why we have this stigma. Switch it around to where, okay, I am here to connect with new people and build relationships and help more people get the word out. So when you do that, you're connecting with people. When I started my web design company, I learned this right up front on you get out of it what you put into it. So I would go to every event I could possibly go to, and I was there, I was shaking hands, talking to people, getting to know them, saying, hey, this is what I do. If I can help you out, that's great. And then also I would say, hey, you know what, you're brand new here, this is what you do, cool. I know Bob over here, and he does this too. And so I'd start connecting people. And what ended up happening was I built such a reputation as a connector, as Ely, that really cool guy. He does computers and websites and all that kind of stuff, which I was not a computer tech, by the way. For many, many years, people would still call me asking me computer questions because I knew this whole computer slash internet thing, and it was really funny. But people would say, Eli, he does all this really cool stuff with the internet. You should talk to him. And so anytime somebody would walk in the door and they mentioned needing a website, oh, you should talk to Eli. I got to the point where people would actually know my brand so strong. Like, you see my banner here is in purple. Purple is like my main color, and it always has been for both companies. And I always wore a purple shirt when I went to networking events, and people saw me in that purple shirt all the time. And somebody else would walk in the door in a purple shirt, and they go, hey, are you working for Eli? And they're like, who's this guy? And people would come up to me and go, okay, I need to know who you are, because like 5 people have asked me if I work for you. So we need to talk so I can get to know why are they doing this? And it was because I just got so known in that reputation. And what ended up happening was I've built a database of over 5,000 people in the Phoenix area, which is where I was for over 18 years. And that's where I started my first business. These are people that I personally sat down with, had coffee with, shook hands with, had conversations with. And what ended up happening with that is it grew that business from my web design, starting out, working out of my dining room by myself with 2 clients, to paying for my chamber membership within the first month. Tripled my business in 6 months, tripled again in another 6 months. Grew it to the point of opening up an office, having 5 employees, closing 3 to 5 contracts a week. And I would say 95+% of that business was within a 10-mile radius of my house.
Your backyard is a gold mine.
Yes. Yeah, and it doesn't.
We look like we want clients in Australia, or we want clients in England, or America.
Which I have. Yeah, those are fun, and it's so fun because you can have people right there. If you're in the online world, think about the offline world as well, and if you're in the offline world, think about the online world. See how you can mix it up and do both. I have people who I've met in the online world that I've actually traveled. Like from here, I mean, it wasn't a huge travel, but I went to somebody that I've networked with, I've known for several years. We'd never had a chance to meet. She did a seminar up in Seattle. I went up, stayed the night in Seattle, went to her seminar, paid to go to her seminar just for the purpose of meeting her face to face, because we had been connected online for so long.
Yeah. Perfect.
You know, and she's helped promote me, and I've helped promote her. It's been a great relationship because of that. I mean, I walked in the door, she goes, Eli, so great to have you here. It gives me this big old hug. We'd never actually met before.
Yeah.
You know, we never met in person.
So that's one of the reasons why you're a big advocate of networking. You've had huge success with it.
Yeah.
And it's great that you've taken some time to teach other people how to duplicate your success. So tell us a little bit about your course.
So the course is, it's called How to Network Like a Rockstar to Grow Your Business, and basically it is everything from the thought process on what networking is and how to change your mindset around it to see the right idea. You're not coming in as a hunter, you're coming in as a farmer. How to find events, how to prepare ahead of time, because there's some really cool tricks you can do to actually walk in the door knowing exactly who you want to meet, how much time you're going to spend with them, what you're going to talk about, and you can, I mean, literally have business ready to go before you even walk in the door.
I think you just hit on a really big point, and I just want to interrupt you for a second, and that is most people go with no idea of what they want to achieve in that hour. Like, what's my goal? Well, I'm going there, and I don't know, I'll hopefully get to meet somebody and not embarrass myself. Whereas if you go in, you say, okay, my goal is to connect 3 people with 3 other people that need their business, which I think is a really, really powerful thing to do when you when you're talking to somebody, and then you know, oh, these 2 people, and then you put them together. I think that's great, and then you have the law of reciprocity going for you as well.
Right.
But I think most people go in and it's just like, I'll eat and I'll just leave get out of there as fast as I can. Whereas if you go in and say, okay, I'm going to connect with 3 people, I'm going to find 2 potential customers and maybe set up another meeting with them, I think it's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people actually walk in the door saying, I'm going to this event because I want sales. Yes, as a
Mm,
business owner, that is your ultimate goal, but you need to look at it as the side effect of everything else that happens. Very, very rarely, and I can tell you this as a fact, for twice in my life have I ever walked into an event out of all the stuff that I've done and sold something right there. Okay?
mm,
The very first time I was having a seminar, I met a guy. He said, so what do you do? I said, I teach these classes. This is what I got going on. He goes, I think I need that. And I said, well, I happen to actually have one tomorrow, and I do have one seat left. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you come join us. Yeah, that sounds good. And so I went and got an order for him and literally took his credit card right there. For the next week, I sat there trying to figure out how did I do that. It was just pure coincidence. The second time was 2 weeks ago when I was in the launch of this new course, and I went to a live networking event that I was helping cross-promote. I talked about the course, saying we just launched it, everything's already going crazy with it, and this girl walks up and she goes, tell me more about the course. I told her a little bit. She goes, and so what's going on? And I had a special price going on for that first launch time frame, which was literally a 90% off, and she goes, okay, sign me up. I wasn't even ready. I had to pull out my phone and put in Square, because I use Square for live stuff, and had to actually add the item to my Square so I could run her credit card right there. I wasn't prepared for that because I didn't think of it. I was like, yeah, she's going to ask questions. She's going to email me. I'll email her the link. But anybody in sales, if you've done this for any time, if somebody's ready to give you money, you figure out how to take it right then and there, because people do question. They don't finish the job sometimes.
that's right.
And so yeah. But literally in my entire life, that's only happened twice.
When
So you can't expect
when you
business
were
all the
talking
time.
about that, you reminded you. I had a vision, which was, it's I have an apple seed, and now I want an apple, right? It's like, no, you have to
Mm-hmm.
plant it, you have to water it, it has to grow, and then it has to get to a
Yeah.
certain age, and then all of a sudden you have more apples than you can eat.
Right, and sometimes that growth period is a day. Sometimes it's 10 years. I have one person who I had known her and her husband. I'd known them for over 10 years, and all of a sudden she calls me up and goes, "We need to get together and talk because I'm ready for a website." And I was like, "Okay." So I said I go and I meet with her and her husband, and we had a talk about what it was, and I gave her some ideas and pricing and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, "So who else are you talking to about this?" She goes, well, nobody. I'm like, okay, because normally when you look at something that's that big of an investment, you usually get 2 or 3 different bids from people. You kind of shop it around a little bit. And I was like, so why aren't you talking to anybody else? She goes, because I've known you for so long, and you've always been there and always added so much value and helped me out when I had questions and everything that I'm not going to use anybody else.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
that's a good place to be.
It is. It is a really good place to be. And having taken your course, I know that's exactly the way you treat the students in the course, because I had a question and you helped me. Like, I just was so happy with your response. It was
Thank you.
great. It was
Well,
awesome. So let's take a
and
minute
that's
and talk about
okay.
networking for podcasting. Okay, so
Okay,
we're
yeah.
going to assume that everyone listening to this has a podcast.
Hmm.
You've decided that you want to have a guest on. Because we both agree, it is a lot better to have a conversation, which is why Eli's not on this show by himself and I'm not on this show by myself, is because
Hmm.
going back and forth and the sharing of information and the energy and everything else is a lot easier, better, faster, quicker, more powerful, etc., 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 when you have
Right.
two people, as opposed to when you're all by yourself. And so I'm decided, okay, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to pick a topic, and how do I get a guest? I guess networking would be a good way to do it, but I
Hmm.
want to know a little bit more than just do networking.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and as far as networking, look at who do you want as a guest? What are the type of people? One of the first things you can do is make a list of who would be your top guests, the best people. Anybody, if you could have anybody as a guest, who would those people be? Always remember that when it comes to like A-list people, let's say you're having a health and wellness and you want to have Dr. Wayne Dyer on your show. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder to get him on the show right up front, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. My show, Driving Your Marketing, I've had some really amazing guests. Bob Burg, the author of the okay, I feel really bad because the title of the book just went out of my brain. The Go-Giver. Which is an amazing book, by the way. Bob Burg, I mean, the guy's very, very well-known author. Larry Wingate is a 6-time New York Times best-selling author. He's a guest. He's a friend of mine. These people are not impossible to get a hold of. You just have to figure out how can I add value to them first, and just make your list, and then figure out, okay, where do they hang out? Who are they talking to? How can I just get in there and help them out one way or another? If you want to get local people, then go to your local chambers of commerce, go to your local leads groups and your after-hours business mixers and things like that, and meet people and figure out, okay, who am I going to be looking for that would be a good guest? And now your radar's on. You're sitting there going, okay, I'm going to go to this event. It's going to have 50 to 100 people. These are the people that I'm looking for, people in these industries that I could potentially have as guests for my show. And then you reach out to them, and guess what? Especially people who are not the top level people that are kind of a little bit jaded now because they've done it for a while, but the new guys, you say, I've got this podcast. I think you'd be an awesome guest. They will trip over themselves to get on your show.
Yeah, I agree. I've never had anybody that I've asked say no.
Yeah. And even Bob Burg, I asked him to help me on something else, and he goes, well, that's not really my thing. And I was like, well, I have a podcast, and if you'd be interested in doing that, I'd love to have you there. He goes, no, that's my thing. Let me do it. And he was an amazing guest. And it's just reach out to him, figure out, okay, where do they hang out? How can I just talk to them? And, of course, add value. One person, there's internet marketer here in the local area. She's in Eugene, is Kathleen Gage. Okay, and she's very well known in the internet marketing space. We've been in kind of the same circles for multiple years, but we've never met. We've never talked. For some reason, it was just like our paths went like this all the time, just barely missed each other. And I move up here, and I'm like, okay, I need to connect with Kathleen. Well, I found out that she was going to be speaking at another person's event. This other person said, hey, I'm doing this event, and she had her list of speakers. I saw Kathleen was there. I'm like, Kathleen is on my list. So I went to that event for the whole purpose of meeting Kathleen. Kathleen's getting ready to go up on stage. We talked just a little bit, and I mentioned the podcast. She goes, yeah, that sounds like fun. And then before she goes up on stage, she's kind of waiting in the back, and the other speaker's finishing up, and I start talking to her a little bit, and I knew she used Infusionsoft. So I brought up the question, something about Infusionsoft casually, and said, there's a couple little tips that we've got with it that we're using that are really awesome. And she was like, that's really cool. And so now she's excited because I gave her something of value. And next thing I know, she emails me and goes, thank you so much for the talk the other day. I really appreciate it. I have an event coming up next week. I want you to come to it. And I was like, it's last minute. I'm not sure if I can. She goes, I'm going to put you on the list. I want you to come as my guest. If you can make it, even if you can only make it one day or whatever, I would love to have you there. And I was like, and she's charging like $1,000 for this event. And I'm like, okay. Well, you know what? If you're going to go out of your way to comp me and gift me that, then I'm going to make a point. And I rearranged my schedule to be there. She and I have now become friends.
Perfect. So I want to get back to the Chamber of Commerce for just a second. We've only got 7 minutes left.
All right.
Ely, I go to the Chamber. I give my beautiful 30-second commercial. I've had some interactions. I've had some people go together. I brought some people together. I think that person and that person I've made some good connections with. I think there's something I can do. Now I'm home or I'm at my office. And, I think probably that's where there's a lot of mistakes being made and things then all of a sudden it doesn't work out. So what do you kind of do after the party is over?
This is the number one most important part, is the follow-up after the event, because like I said, very, very rarely will sales happen during the event. You need to follow up as quickly as possible and build that connection. And that's a really simple couple of steps. Number one, send them an email as quickly as possible saying, hey, it was great meeting you at XYZ event. I hope you got some value out of it. I know I did. Here's what other events do you go to? Here's a couple that I would recommend. If there's anything I can do to help you out, let me know. And literally,
Perfect.
That's your script. What I just said, that's what you write in the email. And of course, if you're brand new to networking and you don't have other events that you would recommend, then you can say, I'm still pretty new to networking, so I don't have anything yet, but I will let you know when I do. That way, you still, instead of putting in the list of the couple of the places you would recommend, but if you have it, share that. Because what ends up happening is you're showing that you care about the relationship by even just contacting them. You're asking them questions. Did you get anything good out of the event? Hopefully you did. This is what I got. And then you're adding value by sharing it. So you're encouraging a conversation with them. And most importantly, you are not pitching them anything. Your very first connection email should not be, hey, and I sell insurance, and this is what I got. And no, because that's the
first.
You
want to water the plant. You got to water the apple seed.
Exactly, and you can't throw vinegar on it because that's going to kill it. And so that's the very first thing you should do. And then, of course, connect with them in the social world. So many people are using social media: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google+. Reach out to them there and just connect with them and say, hey, I just shot you an email, but I wanted to connect with you here on Facebook as well. And then now you're starting that relationship.
Yeah, perfect. Ray is watching. Hey, Ray, happy to have you. And he just said, great strategy. And awesome. Giselle has also been on a little bit earlier. She said, doing the same thing and expecting different results. This is insanity. Like Albert Einstein. Yep. So thank you, Giselle, for that. And,
awesome. Thanks, guys, for coming in.
Yeah, we really appreciate having you. And everybody else, not everybody's going to leave a comment or a question. And there have been no questions. I've been watching, and so I think we've covered everything absolutely perfectly. No. So, Ely, if somebody wanted to get your course, they can get it at www.powerpodcasters.com/Ely, ELY. And I put that in the chat box for everybody. And I'm also going to put it around here somewhere, so in future generations we'll be able to get it. But I wanted to ask you if there was any last things you wanted to say about your course. I think it's a great course. I highly recommend it. It's awesome. You're going to learn a lot out of it, and then if you actually start doing some of it, you're going to see your business grow, because I've seen that happen just in the last, I took your course 2 weeks ago, and in the last couple of weeks it's been pretty good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, that means the world to me, because that's why I do this stuff. I have so much fun with it. And just so everybody knows, that link was actually a special link, so you guys are getting a discount. Okay. We wanted to do that. I want to give you guys the opportunity to get in there as cheap as we can. It's like 80% off or something like that. But get out there, just implement this stuff. Even if you're not ready for the course yet, if you're ready to just take what we talked about today, get out there, make connections. The people that you meet are going to get you where you want to go. If you just remember that, keep that in mind, and wake up every morning and ask yourself this one simple question: who am I going to help today? When you do that, it changes your mind. It changes the way you think, because it's not about how am I going to sell this stuff, or how much money am I going to make, because those things can get very depressing very quickly. And it's not about the fact of we're not doing this in a concept of we don't want to make money. I have no qualms about the fact that I want to sell you something. But it doesn't mean I have to be a pushy, annoying sales guy in the process.
Right. People want to buy. They don't want to be sold to.
Exactly. And that's how it works. That's the funny thing about it, is that we know that phrase. That phrase is so popular. But if we forget that, and we get in that point of, hey, do you want to buy? You want to buy? And we feel like the drug dealer down the street. And it's like that's an icky way to think of things.
Which reminds me, Eli, I have a book. I really want you to buy it, okay?
Okay. Yeah,
it's on special today only.
Yeah, exactly. And then things like that. And think about the people that you want on your podcast or to help you with your business one way or another. How can you add value to them? But bringing up the book, that could be a very simple thing to do. If somebody is launching a book or launching their course, and you think that the people might find value in it, help them promote it. Go buy it. I mean, the funniest thing in the world that I see is, like, if my friends will release a book, because I have all these people, and they'll do a launch, and they do, a 99-cent sale or, whatever, and I do these quite often with my own books, because I have 2 books on Kindle right now, and the second one, as a matter of fact, later this month, we're going to be doing it. It's going to be a 99-cent sale. When my friends are doing those, I help share the message out, and I buy the book. I had one who said, "Hey, we're trying to get to #1 in this category. If you could help spread the word, I could really appreciate it." And the first thing I did was like, "Of course." I bought the book immediately. It was a book for women, so for me to promote it, I mean, I can only do so much with it, but I did promote it. But the first thing I did was I talked to my daughter and my girlfriend and said, "You guys need to each buy this book and then share it with anybody you can, because it's for women, and your message will get out there better than mine will." And
Perfect.
so that was the very first thing I did, and his book hit #1. Now, how many were because of me? I don't know, but I know that I
At
helped
least
contribute to
90%. We know that, Eli. So,
But
so
you know,
if
as
you
simple
want
as
to get a
that.
hold of Eli,
Yeah,
yourmarketinguniversity.com. Head over
mhm.
there. I'm sure you've got a contact form or some way that they could get a hold of you.
Yeah, or just send me an email, eli@yourmarketinguniversity.com, and of course, connect with me in social media. I am on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, all that kind of fun stuff. I will say my goal for the year, get away from Facebook a little bit more and more on Google+ and LinkedIn. Those are going to be my power players for the year. But reach out, connect with me. I'm always available.
Awesome. So www.powerpodcasters.com/Eli. Get his course. You're going to be a networking superstar, and you're going to see your business grow. And if you're podcasting, it's really going to help you get some top quality guests and work your way through it. And when you take the course, there's a little discussion area on the side, and you can talk to Eli there, and he answers like within minutes. No, certainly within a day. He's not
Quickly as
there
I
every
can.
second, as quickly as he can, right? So, and I think
Yeah.
it's well worth that. So head over there. And Eli, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to join us. I really appreciate the information that you've shared, and I really appreciate having you as a friend as well.
Well, thank you, Scott. It's my pleasure. And, you know, I have so much fun hanging out with you. You're like one of the coolest people just to chat with. So anytime.
Awesome. And we appreciate you listening to this, everybody, particularly Gisela and Ray. Thank you very much for your kind comments. Once we
Thanks,
go off
guys.
the air, I will share those with Eli. And I'm going to be saying, I'm going to get a blackboard and I'm going to write your name out 300 times so that I don't, I almost screwed it up again, which is weird because we've talked a lot and I've never had that problem. It just must be
Hey,
stage fright.
it happens. It happens. But
So
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
and thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.